let's delve into this Naira that has weakened slightly against the US dollar. We're actually seeing dollar strength. Is it any sort of point of concern for you, Steve, when you do see a slight weakness coming through, despite the fact that the Naira is still sitting in its target band?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I don't think it's any major concern right now. We've seen the market trade within the 157 band. We've seen the currency trade with a low of 2050, 157, 2050 during the course of the week. 2030, I mean, during the course of the week, and the high of 157, 75, 85 thereafter. And I think on the back of the auction this week, we saw quite a number of offshore inflows, which supports the Naira at the present level of 157, 50, 60. Initially, we saw the currency actually trade as low as 157, 2050 when the inflow started coming in. But again, don't forget that some of those guys actually have a lot of liquidity in the system. And as we did see much of the inflows coming from the oil company sales, the currency weakened further to 157, 75, 85 during the course of the week. Then at the WDAS window, CBN actually devalued the currency to by about 5 kobo from 157.26 to 157.31. I think that actually explains the reason why we see the currency trading up at these levels.
Steve, if you could also just touch on the yields. I know that they are coming down across the board. We're seeing a lot of demand coming through, locals and foreigners being very interested in the fixed income space and, of course, bonds as well. Do you expect this kind of appetite to continue into next week when we've got very important auctions happening in the next week period? Of course, the DMO coming into the market quite heavily.
I think we're going to see the interest going forward. If you check the result on the 1-year bills and the 182 days, there was an auction on Wednesday. We saw a heavy subscription of over 200 billion in that part of the curve. And most of these inflows or most of these interest is actually coming from the offshore players. We have some locals too that are actually very interested. And considering the present levels of all these yields that we have right now, we see the 1-year bills trading within the level of 13.947 from 14.64 that he printed at the last auction. Bearing in mind that there's going to be auction on the bond next week again, and if you look at the size on an offer, it's about 35 billion each on each maturity of the 5-year and the 7 on the 10 years. I think the interest will still continue, and we'll still continue to see inflows or renewed interest coming from the offshores and local investors as well.
With regards to some of the yields that we could expect into next week, Steve, what is your anticipated numbers? What are you anticipating on that front?
Presently, the 5-year is trading around 15.1 levels in the secondary market, and the 10 years is trading between 15.4 to 15.43. I think it's still going to revolve around those levels. We expect the 5 years to print around 15.2, a slight uptick there, and the 10 years should print probably around between 15.4 to 15.5.
Steve, also just your prognosis on the Naira. We spoke of it in terms of some of the supply-demand factors going through. There is a big concern with regards to the Eurozone, and overall it seems that negative sentiment is starting to hit global markets. If we do see significant dollar strength, would you say that the central bank is in a position to ensure that the Naira stays within its target?
Well, I can say yes, because our reserve is still revolving around 36 billion, and the oil price is still over in between 100 and slightly above. CBN still has the capacity to be able to keep the currency at this level, and coupled with the fact that we've seen so much support from the offshore inflows who are interested in buying bills and bonds, I think going forward it's still going to be relatively flat.